You also need to start noticing when you make excuses for not taking responsibility. Notice how you avoid both personal responsibility and also collective responsibility. In fact, one of the sneaky mechanisms that your mind uses to avoid collective responsibility, and a lot of right-wingers and conservatives and libertarians are guilty of this, as I've talked about in the past, is that they will actually use the mantle of personal responsibility to shirk collective responsibility. So in cases like systemic racism or inequalities and injustices within society, a conservative or libertarian will say, oh, well, they just need to take more personal responsibility. No, you actually need to take more collective responsibility. Collective responsibility doesn't negate and is not mutually exclusive with personal responsibility. Both are important because we are both individuals and we are also part of a collective. And both of these dynamics are interpenetrating all the time within our lives. None of us are really individuals. We're always interacting with others, whether it's online or in our family or in our intimate relationships or at work, in business. It's all collective type stuff. So there's a lot of collective responsibilities there. And of course, we don't like to take responsibility. The mind doesn't like to take on responsibility, either personal or collective. Why not? Well, that's something you should introspect about. Notice and feel when you are actually shirking responsibility, either personal or collective, when you don't want it. And then try to ask yourself, why don't I want it in this case? For example, I've faced group situations in the past, maybe you have as well, like in school or at work. There was like a little group project. Let's say at school, your teacher gets 5 of you together, you splits the class into groups of 5, and then gives each of you a school project. And you need to work on it together, class project that you work on together over the next week, all 5 of you. Have you ever been in that situation? What happens? One of the first things in that situation that arises is the question of who's going to be the leader in that group. It's not going to be just a perfect democracy. Someone's going to arise as the leader. And to stand up and say, okay, guys, I'm taking responsibility for this project, I'm going to spearhead it, and so forth, this takes responsibility. And it takes a certain gumption and leadership and a certain confidence. In that situation, you can actually feel into it, and there's that lingering moment before somebody steps up and takes the lead. There's that moment of like, well, who's going to take the lead? Am I going to take the lead? Is he going to take the lead? Is she going to take the lead? It's like, well, I don't want to take the lead. Or maybe I do want to take the lead, but I feel bad about it. I feel guilty because I don't want to be some arrogant asshole who dominates others. But on the other hand, it seems like those other people aren't willing to take the lead. That means I have to step up. But if I step up, that means I have to do more work. And I don't want to do more work. See, all these subtle dynamics, you can feel those playing inside, rattling inside of your skull when you're facing this kind of situation. Hopefully you can relate to that in some way. See? Leading people is a huge responsibility. It means you have to act better yourself. You have to set the right example for others. You have to hold yourself to a high standard because you know others will hold you to a high standard. See? And you can further introspect and wonder to yourself in that situation, why am I resistant to take this leadership position? Why don't I want the responsibility? What am I avoiding? Likewise, if you're a conservative and you deny things like systemic racism, you can ask yourself, why am I avoiding collective responsibility here? Why am I just offloading this and trying to excuse it and rationalize it away, saying, oh, those black people or whatever, they're not taking enough personal responsibility? Well, is that really the case? Or maybe I'm not taking enough collective responsibility by trying to blame them for not taking personal. What if they are taking personal responsibility, but the collective situation is so rigged or unjust that actually we need to take more collective responsibility? What if that's the case? That means I'd have to maybe reevaluate my worldview, because see, my worldview blames them for it. So why don't I want to take collective responsibility? What am I trying to avoid there?